Tucker Carlson has been released, fired.
Released. He's been released into the ether of media.
Yeah. So Tucker Carlson has been fired from Fox News. Why he was fired is
we don't really know.
No, we don't know. There's a lot of theories behind it, but we're going to play you a quick video clip from Forbes, which is going to show you the actual financial ramifications for Fox for firing Tucker Carlson. This will be interesting. Check this out. Now, Tucker Carlson was not the only person who was fired today. Don Lemon was also fired.
Can we just, for a second, compare the money? So let's compare the money lost to Fox through the Dominion settlement and compare that with money.
I was going to address that. What I was saying regarding, there's really nothing to cover regarding Don Lemon. Don Lemon was fired because he doesn't bring any value to corporate media. He's a complete waste, and he finally.
What's he from? Was he a sports person at some point? Like where?
No, he was like on Entertainment Tonight or something like that. He was like an entertainment host, and then became a news host. Don Lemon didn't drive any ratings or do anything of that nature. Tucker Carlson was far and away the most successful by ratings and revenue, the most successful corporate media host in the nation. And why he was fired, there are many avenues that you can explore. The most obvious is that he was going along, however directly or indirectly, with the election was rigged. And as we've said, you can say the election was rigged, but what was being said, which is obviously crossing the line, is they were rigging the voting machines. And so Dominion sues Fox News and wins. And
they settled.
They settled, but there was maybe that was one of the conditions of the settlement. Maybe one of the conditions of the settlement.
I don't know. I have this feeling that in some due time, we'll know, and it'll be dependent on how stringent the NDA is that Tucker may or may not have signed, and whatever the deal is or is not, as to what he can and cannot release.
Again,
but I feel like this is the kind of thing he'll write about in a book deal in a few years.
Well, you're the attorney, so basically his whole concern is going to be, what type of an NDA, how much that's going to relate to his contract, and
I don't know.
Apparently, he was making $35 million a year. That's what he was getting paid.
Well, I'm not exactly worried about how he's going to eat. So,
No, and I could care less. I mean, listen, as we've discussed, there's a lot of things to dislike significantly about Tucker, but there are times where he will say what is, what others are not saying when they should be saying it.
Yeah,
And
he's had
is
some
right.
decent takes. He's had some decent takes, that's for sure. And I don't, watch that, but I just know because I've seen clips of him have decent takes.
But Double K is probably right. He's very likely going to end up doing something that's going to elevate his net worth even more, perhaps start his network. He's going to do what Donald Trump was supposed to do if he lost the election in 2016. Which
this isn't going to affect Tucker Carlson's career.
No,
Don Lemon's, yes. Don Lemon's very well could be totally over. I actually saw a clip of him where he was talking about women not being in their prime. He was making a comment. Did you see that clip?
That wasn't
it was
good.
Just the whole thing. This man is sitting at a table of middle-aged women.
Yeah.
And considering
the fact he's a gay man making that statement.
I mean, this man is sitting, and I didn't know that, but it doesn't matter, at a table of middle-aged women talking about women that are past their prime.
Yeah.
You got to read the room, pal. You got to read the room.
The other thing that I just thought of, and I'm wondering if you think that it might have something to do with it. I mean, again, I still am convinced without question that this is all financially motivated.
Everything is financially motivated.
Everything's especially with, the fact that they're saying.
It could be a sponsorship issue. It could be having something to do with, it's obviously, it was something that happened, that there is somebody in the higher pay grade echelons that made a decision. And Tucker Carlson was hung out. Now, it's not going to affect him again, I think he's going to be fine. But and maybe at some point we'll know. But somebody with a higher pay grade.
I think Fox is going to suffer for this. I do. I think in a way that they never have before. And it's going to be interesting to see. Big dumb animal. Thank you so much.
Big dumb animal.
You're such a big dumb animal.
I think it will be interesting. He definitely was their big draw. So what does that mean? And right now, what they've said apparently is that what's going to be in that time slot is there's just going to be rotating different Fox hosts. So, and again, I'm not, Double K. I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but he has had some good takes. And when he speaks anti-war and that audience gets to hear it, I like that.
And again, it's not really a question, Chris Frank, if whether or not the Fox News gets somebody worse. The fact of the matter is,
it doesn't.
I mean, listen, the worst person at Fox News was not Tucker Carlson. It's Sean Hannity. He is the worst person at Fox, period. With the difference,
Tucker,
of course,
was the most reasonable. Tucker was the most reasonable person.
When it came to certain issues, yes, but Tucker was also, he definitely played into not just the culture war, but the the white fragility war, going so far as to even take it into the white supremacy line, which again, it's everything drives ratings. But the thing about Tucker is that he was a very unique personality. He ran a very unique show, and he was also willing to say things that most people were not willing to say.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Mario.
Tucker definitely acted weird. There's no question. But the other thing about Tucker was that he was willing to call out the military-industrial complex in a way that others were not willing to do. Now, you could say that—
And they let him. Yes. And they let him.
And you could say that Tucker was hawkish, if you will, on China, but Tucker's hawkish on China from an economic standpoint. He's somebody who isn't saying, let's invade or let's go to war with China over Taiwan. That's not who he is. Tucker who's a devout Catholic, has been very adamant about how much he admits that he effed up regarding the war in Iraq. And he believes that he's been paying for it ever since. So even when Trump was president, Tucker did go out of his way to halt this notion that we should go to war in Syria against Bashar al-Assad. And he was willing to, I think there was like a moment where he had like a late night broadcast that apparently stopped Trump from actually dropping bombs on Damascus. This is like serious stuff. His support of Julian Assange and the First Amendment is pretty impressive. And now, one would say, well, how do you know that Tucker Carlson is just saying this and isn't just, like playing to a crowd? Well, that may be true, but the fact that he gave a platform to Chris Smalls at a time when they had just won the unionization of the first Amazon warehouse in the country. And Tucker obviously tried to get him into, a pissing match with AOC and that. But Chris did a phenomenal job of redirecting the conversation into the economic war, living wage, universal health care, things like that. And by the end of the conversation, Tucker said, look, I don't support unions. I just don't. But what he did say, which was key, was, and if you haven't seen this interview, I highly recommend that you go and check it out. Chris Smalls and Tucker Carlson. He said, what you are doing for the labor movement is a good thing, and it's something we could use more of in this country. And I thought that was a very powerful message. And clearly what Chris Smalls was saying resonated with him to some degree, even though the line on the conservative right is always anti-union, but never anti-labor. And I think that that's become the distinction between the two. And that's the key.